Our guest on This is America and the World is Ambassador Kirsti Kauppi. Ambassador Kauppi is the ambassador from the Republic of Finland to the United States. The ambassador formerly served as Director General for Political Affairs in Finland's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and as Finland's ambassador to Austria. Madam Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Finland, we don't know anything about Finland. We'll start from there.
Okay.
Tell me 3 things I should know.
Well, I could be even more concise and just to say 4 words, a fabulous Nordic country. And that already entails quite a lot.
Fabulous Nordic country. When we talk about Nordic countries,
Yes.
what are we talking about?
Well, we are talking about societies that have certain features in common, equality, rule of law, very well-functioning societies, good governance, and also very efficient economies, like a lot of innovation. We are on the cutting edge on many things, so that's what we are talking about.
And fabulous?
Fabulous.
I would have to know, just sitting across from you, you're part of the fabulousness.
Well, thank you. But obviously Finland is not very well known, but that's why it is very important that we sort of flag that we are part of the Nordic community. One more thing maybe is that we are not endowed with a lot of natural resources, but we have one resource which is very important, and that is our people. We have a very good educational system, one of the best in the world. So that is the natural resource that we have.
I read a little something over the weekend, I think it was over the weekend in the New York Times, where they had a chart of various countries throughout the world talking about a small amount of poor people, a smaller amount of a small amount of very wealthy people, and it was number 1, a huge middle class.
Yes, it's a very equal society in many respects, like all the Nordic countries actually are. So the income equality is strong, but also like gender equality, that's really also a very important feature of the Nordic societies.
2 thoughts went through my mind at the same time. One is a woman who's president, right?
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
We had a woman president, we've had a woman prime minister, defense minister, foreign minister, finance minister, everything.
So who's the new president?
Well, he's not new anymore.
I'm looking at an old piece of research.
Oh, yeah. It's a gentleman called Sauli Niinistö at the moment. So he's the president now. But if I may, we have something like 40% of the ministers are women and about 40% of the MPs, members of parliament, are women.
Oh, you helped me out there. You helped me out. Thank you so much.
And even what I'm very proud about, since I'm an ambassador, about 50% of Finnish ambassadors are women.
Whoa!
So
excellent. Thank you so much for the education there. Long history. My head is spinning with Sweden and Russia.
Yes.
At different times parts of Sweden, at different times parts of Russia. Help me understand.
Yeah. Well, 700 years part of Sweden, and then about 100 years an autonomous Grand Duchy in Russia.
In Russia,
in the Empire of Russia.
In the Empire.
And then 99 years ago we declared independence, so next year we have the centennial.
Wow.
But
somebody came along and said enough is enough, huh?
Yes. The Russian period was not all bad in the sense that we had a very far-reaching autonomy, so we could build our own institutions. And one sort of single issue describes the situation very well, and that is, can you guess which was the language that Finland was governed in?
Russian, I would imagine.
No? It was Swedish.
Swedish?
Yes.
But then I was reading that Sweden and Russia were using Finland as kind of a battleground in their wars against each other.
Yes, that was the old times in the 17th, 18th, and also 19th century. But
And then during World War II, there was all kinds of problems.
well, World War II was very traumatic for us, but also very important. But since that was quite soon after the independence, so the first phase of World War II was that the Soviet Union attacked Finland, and obviously it was everybody expected us to fall totally, but we could resist. So Finland was not occupied. And that was a great achievement for us. Then in the second phase of the World War II, we fought against the Soviet Union. And obviously we lost, but again, we were not occupied. The third phase of the Second World War was that we fought against the Germans. But the end result was that we retained our democratic system. We were not occupied. But we were left a little bit like in our limbo between the Soviet Union and the West. And that was then our big task during the Cold War, to sort of handle that situation.
Wow. What's the relationship with Finland and Russia today?
It's not bad. It's not as good as we hope it would be, obviously, because Russia is a difficult neighbor. It's very assertive. Its internal situation is not good, but we are handling the relationship, I think, well, and there is no sort of animosity as a sort of a. There's no animosity as such, but obviously we have to sort of be prepared, and we have to understand that the big neighbor, is not very peaceful at the moment.
Is this right? Because I don't know if it's, I don't know, I'll just ask the question. Did the country publish a manual that was distributed to Finns about what would happen or what they should do if Russia invaded? Is that true?
Oh, I'm not sure what you refer to, but during the Second World War, the Russians or the Soviet Union expected to be able to invade the country and occupy the country in a few weeks. So they had a manual for that, how to sort of do that. But obviously they were prevented from doing that.
So is the relationship such that Finland doesn't worry about that, or is it a scary situation?
It's not a scary situation. It is a big neighbor which has had all kinds of phases in its history, so we always are on sort of a little bit guarded. But we have been able to manage this relationship. We have a lot of contact with the Russians. We have trade. We have people-to-people contacts. There are a lot of Russian sort of middle-class tourists coming to Finland. So it has normalized a lot after the Cold War. But at the moment there is the tension there because Russia is very assertive and very unpredictable. So we have to be prepared, but that doesn't mean that the relationship would be, tense or bad or anything like that.
Have you got the relationship with Sweden all straightened out, though?
Oh, yes. They are our beloved neighbors, and there's a nice sort of atmosphere of competition, but we love them. And so, obviously we belong to the same, with the Swedes, with the other Nordic countries, to the same community of values. And very importantly, Sweden and Finland and Denmark, we are members in the European Union, which is very important for us.
Let us take a little break and tell the folks at home we're talking with the ambassador from the Republic of Finland to the United States. Her name is Kirsti Kauppi, and we're going to take a little break. Back on the other side, this is America and the World.
This is America and the World is brought to you by the National Education Association. the US-China Education Trust and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Ambassador Julia Chang Block, President. The League of Arab States, representing 350 million people in 22 member countries. The Petroleum Group, expertise with integrity in the fields of oil and gas, exploration and production, energy, and infrastructure. The Rotendaro Family Trust. The Embassy Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings. And Ventana Productions, television facilities, editing, and distribution services.
Madam Ambassador, I'm fascinated with the effect of the Ice Age way back when on the topography of the country. Talk a little bit about that, will you?
Well, that's a little bit difficult to explain, that, but when Europe was covered by this 10 kilometers sort of deep ice, and it started to recede, that left deep marks on the Finnish sort of surface and soil. But what it also means is that we have the bedrock very sort of visible in Finland, and that is a very striking feature of the Finnish landscape.
So I gather it's predominantly flat.
It's relatively flat, and there's the bedrock there, and then we have a lot of lakes. We have something like 80,000 lakes.
80,000 lakes?
Yes.
And then, a forest is big, right? In that area?
It's all forest.
It's all forest.
Yeah.
So it's a small percentage, but all these lakes, and then forests. And then I read something about, and this is way beyond me, but it's like rising out of the sea.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Yes, it's exactly about the Ice Age and the fact that as the weight of the ice has been taken away, the ground sort of moves up. And I actually myself come from a region where it is visible, where the sea sort of recedes because
you can see it.
You can notice it if you go to the seaside. In a few years, you can see the difference.
Wow! And this is the last thing I'm going to ask you about this, because this is beyond beyond my belief. That for like 70 days in the summertime, the sun never sets, and then in the wintertime, for like 50 days, the sun never comes out. Is that close?
Well, that's a little bit exaggerated, but because it depends where you are. If you are in Helsinki...
Oh, where you are, yes,
yes,
okay.
But if you are on the Arctic Circle, there is a period in the summer when the sun doesn't set and above the Arctic Circle, and in the winter when it doesn't rise at all. And obviously in the south, you have, for instance, in midsummer, the day is something like 20 hours long. And in the winter, the night is about 10-20 hours long.
So the best time to go there as a tourist or to shoot a television program would be in
midsummer.
Midsummer. So what would the temperature be in? Can you give it to me in Fahrenheit?
Well, in midsummer it might be something like 75 to even 85.
Oh, that's comfortable, sure.
Yes, and in the winter it would be cold.
I mean, sometimes in some parts freezing cold.
Oh yes, absolutely,
Oh, yes.
and yes. But there again, you have big differences within the country.
It's a huge landmass, isn't it?
It's a big country, yes.
You look at Europe, you take a map of Europe and put it out there and say, "My Lord, this is a huge country."
I think the fifth biggest country in Europe.
The population is rather sparse, isn't it? It's sparsely settled.
It's only 5.5 million, and the whole of the country is populated, but most of the people live in the south and southwest. But the whole of the country is populated. So it means that it's very sparsely populated.
Let me run down a couple of these things that I noted, which are just absolutely amazing to me. One of the least corrupt countries in the world, number one in freedom of press,
Yes.
way at the top of the list as far as business competitiveness. And they really, I should say, your country, really takes care of its people, huh?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about those little different, it's way, way at the top. I mean, this is a
Yes.
very, very successful country.
It is a very successful country, and one of the rankings that I personally like a lot is that we are the least failed state in the world.
Least failed.
Least failed, but it entails that there's some failure there. I mean,
At least.
everywhere. So, I think that...
It's human, we're human, right?
Yes, exactly, and that's important. There's always room for improvement. But it is a good country, but I have to say we all face challenges. These are very turbulent times. But there's a lot of confidence in the society. It's very equal. We have a lot of confidence in our institutions. And as I said, I think one of the keys, or two keys to the success are the education and the equality. Gender equality is very important as far as our success is concerned.
The economy is services, I guess, but also there's a kind of a metal industry and a forest industry.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about the economy.
Yes, that's how it looks like now, but we are a relatively small economy. We used to be a very agrarian country until the 50s. We industrialized rapidly, and obviously since we have a lot of forest, it's very much forest and paper industries.
Oh, wood, yeah.
And then the machine building, manufacturing industry is very high level, and that's partially because of the high level of education. We have also a very strong IT sector. I don't know whether you remember a company called Nokia.
Sure.
Or something, names like Angry Birds or Linux. So those are some of the brands that are known in the IT sector. At the present time, the IT sector, as far as our GDP or exports are concerned, is not that big, but it's a huge area where Finland has a lot of expertise, and I think also in the future will play a big role.
So is it way at the top of the list as far as information and communication technology is concerned?
Absolutely. But the information technology is a very interesting piece to look at, because when we started to really show that we have world-leading expertise in that field, we did a lot of manufacturing in that sector in Finland. But in the globalized world, it's very quickly moved to other countries. So what we still have in Finland in that sector is the cutting-edge development, research and development, not so much manufacturing.
Science is very important in that country, isn't it?
Yes, because our sort of the biggest competitive edge that we have is the know-how, knowledge. And therefore you need well-educated people, you need science, research, and innovative sort of atmosphere, innovative environment, and that is what we try to sort of keep and exploit.
You mentioned education a little earlier in our conversation, and I gathered that 35 or 40% of the population has a tertiary degree, which means either university or college.
Yes.
40%.
Yes.
That is outstanding. That's astounding.
Yes, and again a link to the education. Our teachers have university degrees. So
wow.
Yes.
And Finland, as I remember this, doing some interviews at an international summit of educators from all over the world. Finland's way at the top. Finland and Singapore seem to be always way at the top.
Yes, we have an excellent basic education system, and it's really, I think, the best in the world.
I read about 200 newspapers, about 300 popular magazines, and this was feeding into that, over 2,000 professional magazines.
Yes.
I mean, what's going on there in a country of 5.5 million people?
A lot of readers. People like to read, and we have a very dense network of libraries also. So people like to read, and language is very important in Finland. By the way, I should mention that about 95% of Finns speak Finnish, 5% speak Swedish as their mother tongue, and both languages are the official languages of the country.
Ooh. Santa Claus?
Yes.
I mean, you're owning
the most famous Finn.
You're owning Santa Claus. Lutheran country, huh?
Yes.
And the Pope is next door, right?
Here in Washington.
No. Next door in Sweden. Wasn't he visiting there to try to bring the Lutheran and the Catholic Church closer together?
Yes. Well, but the Swedes are also Lutherans, so.
Yeah, but he's trying to bring them together.
Right. The present Pope is very ecumenical in that sense that he wants to see the Christian world much more sort of united, I suppose that's the word.
I want to know, and I'm not going to let you go before I know about Lapland. For some reason, as a kid, always I've been interested in, I know nothing about Lapland. Okay. Tell me a little bit.
Well, it's a huge area in the north above the Arctic Circle,
yes,
and
very cold.
Yeah. In the summer, a lot of mosquitoes, so don't go there in June or July.
Oh my goodness!
But it's a fabulous for tourism, for trekking, for whatever. And
are the Finns outdoor people?
Finns are very much outdoor people, nature people. We love to wander in the nature, and it's if you visit Finnish cities, the nature is in the cities as well. In Lapland we have something, a people, Sami people, who are the indigenous people there, and they did earlier on, and they still do reindeer herding, and that's a people that you have in all the northern regions of Norway,
Are there a
Sweden.
A lot of them?
Not very much. It's a small people, but they have a very distinct culture of their own.
Does the government treat them well?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So many countries, and as we interview different ambassadors and things like that, and our own history as well, a lot of times the countries did not treat their indigenous people with respect and took great advantage, and a blot on many countries, including our own.
Yeah, I think in Finland the history is more positive. Obviously, there are always issues there, and is also with the change of time, you get the issues like how do you make sure that this sort of diminishing number of people can retain their own culture.
Yes.
And so that kind of issues are important.
You came from a very small little village or so?
Yes.
How many people in the village? Because I grew up in a village.
Okay.
And mine was smaller than yours. How many people?
In my childhood it was only 3,000.
Oh my goodness. Oh, no. My village was a couple of hundred people. Believe me. Yeah.
Right.
You've served in Vienna as ambassador. You've served in Bangkok, posts in Bangkok, in Berlin, I believe, Brussels as well.
Yes.
You were here in the United States at a particular point in time. Now you come back as ambassador. How's the relationship between the United States and Finland, and also how do you see your mission here?
Well, the relationship is excellent, and actually it has always been. and it's very close as far as trade is concerned, economy is concerned, because that's a very important area. As far as issues related to security are concerned, it's also very close. I think what makes the relationship also very sort of important is that we appreciate a lot the fact that the US plays a big role globally. And we, even if we are a small country, Finland, like all the Nordic countries, are big in sharing the burden and responsibility for global issues.
And your role is to continue to bring us both closer together.
Yes, and highlighting some of the most sort of topical issues where I would like to mention the Arctic cooperation.
Ah, yes, indeed. Madam Ambassador, we're at the end of our time. I thank you so much for the education, and I've learned so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
For information about This is America and the World, and to watch all of our programs, visit our website, thisisamerica.net, and look for us on Facebook and Twitter. This is America and the World is brought to you by the National Education Association, the U.S.-China Education Trust, and F.Y. Chang Foundation, guided by Ambassador Julia Chang Bloch, President. The League of Arab States, representing 350 million people in 22 member countries. The Petroleum Group, expertise with integrity in the fields of oil and gas, exploration and production, energy, and infrastructure. The Rotendaro Family Trust. The Embassies Series, uniting people through musical diplomacy, presenting international artists in diplomatic settings. And Ventana Productions, television facilities, editing, and distribution services.